John Lee Real Estate, find you the best rates. All throughout Philly like Schuylkill Expressway. Talking to people who
Hey guys, welcome back. If you're even thinking about selling your home this year, this is one of those episodes you definitely don't want to skip, because here's the reality most people don't realize until it's too late. You don't sell your home and walk away with the number you magically see online. There are costs involved, and they're not small ones. I'm talking about $30,000 to $60,000 quietly disappearing from your equity. And I see this all the time. Sellers, they come in thinking I'm going to sell for, $400,000 in their head. In their mind, they've already spent that money, right? And then closing comes, they're like, wait, where did all this go? What happened here? So today I'm breaking down the 7 biggest costs, real numbers, what actually matters, what you should do and what you should ignore, because not all advice out there is, in my opinion, good advice. Some of it will literally cost you money. So let's get into it. The first is commission. Let's talk about the biggest one, right? Commission. Right now, nationally, we're averaged around 5.7% on average on the commission. So on a $400,000 house, that's about $22,000 right off the top. Now, here's what I want you to understand. It's not just a fee. I want you to look at it as leverage, right? Because there's marketing, exposure, negotiation, deal management. And this is where people mess up. They focus on saving on commission instead of maximizing net profit. I've seen sellers try to save $10,000 on commission and then lose $30,000 on sale price. That's not a win. Now, you can negotiate commission. Yes, you can, especially if your home is in great condition. But what I would not do is don't go full sale by owner unless you really know what you're doing. There is less exposure going in that route, worse pricing, weaker negotiation, and most end up hiring an agent anyway. So the move is actually pretty simple. Negotiate smart, but don't sacrifice strategy. Next, it's repairs and prep. This is where emotions kick in, because sellers either do way too much or not enough. So you can easily see about $5,000 to $10,000 here. So here's how I guide my clients. Fix what buyers notice immediately. So that can be paint, leaks, lighting, cleanliness, curb appeal, high return moves. But don't go renovating a kitchen just to sell. You're solving for someone else's taste, right? And most of the time you don't get that money back. And you want to think simple: clean, neutral, functional, right? Next is staging and photos. Now, staging, this is where people overcomplicate things, in my opinion. Full staging can cost $1,000 to $4,000 and sometimes even more. And most homes actually don't need it. What actually works is decluttering, right? So you pack away 30 to 40% of your stuff, open up the space, let light in. And I want to add something here that I talk about with my clients. You want your home to feel very neutral. That means removing anything too personal. That could be family photos, religious items, cultural pieces. And I'll say this from my own perspective. I'm Korean and I'm extremely proud of who I am, but I always joke with my Korean clients, if another Korean buyer, for example, walks in, they might feel comfortable, extremely comfortable, and start negotiating a lot harder. And then on the flip side, if someone from a completely different background, right, or even race, right, walks in, you don't know how they're gonna, perceive the space. So I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It's just the reality of it. So instead of taking that risk entirely, right, we just remove it. You remove it altogether, because the goal ultimately is simple. You don't want buyers walking into your home, having them feel a certain way, right? You want them walking into their future home, right? And neutral tones, clean space, minimal distractions, that's what allow people to connect emotionally. And when they connect, that's when you get stronger offers. Now, one thing you should not skip is professional photos. Honestly, that's $300 to $800. This is one of the highest ROIs that you'll have, and most of the times your realtor will cover that cost, or at least I'm hoping they are. Closing costs, right? Closing costs, most sellers completely forget this. If you're looking, you're probably looking at like a 2 to 4%. So that's including transfer tax, title fees. So on a $400,000 house, that's anything between $8,000 to $16,000. that's gone, right? So plan it early and understand in today's market, you might also have to help the buyer a bit, right? So that's seller's assist, right? Or buyer's assist. Time on market, right? Next, time. Every month your home sits, you're paying, mortgage, taxes, insurance, utilities. That's $2,000 to $5,000 per month very easily. And homes are sitting around 60 to 70 days right now. So pricing really matters. I always tell my sellers, you don't win by testing the market. You actually win by positioning correctly from day one, because chasing the market down is like catching a falling knife, right? And it will cost you way more. The inspection contingency is another one. Now, inspections. There is where deals either move forward or, I'm sorry. This is where deals either move forward or fall apart. Buyers will come back asking $5,000 to $20,000, but here's what I want to give as far as more of strategic advice. A lot of agents will say, just get a pre-inspection. I don't fully agree with that across the board. It depends on the market. If you're in a strong seller's market and the buyers are waiving inspections or making them informational, why open up a can of worms, right? Why go looking for problems no one is asking about? In that particular market, right? I'd rather create competition and let terms work in your favor. Now, if you are in a more balanced or buyer leaning market, that's where a pre-inspection becomes a bit more powerful. Now you know what's coming, you fix what matters, and you disclose the rest, and then you negotiate from strength. So the takeaway, don't follow a blanket strategy. You really want to adapt to what the market ultimately is giving you. Lastly, taxes and moving, right? Taxes and moving. This is where people get caught at the finish line. So capital gains, if you don't qualify, and moving costs, right? So that's $3,000 to $10,000 depending on your situation. So plan ahead, because the goal isn't just to, sell, right? It's to keep as much of your money possible. We talk about net, right? So to wrap things up, let's zoom out. Where does your money go? Most of it honestly comes from commission, repairs, photos, closing costs, inspections, taxes, and moving. So that's where that $30,000 to $60,000, disappears. But here's the difference. Most people lose that money. Smart sellers control it. So you want to control your pricing, control your prep, and control your strategy. If you do that, you don't just sell, you win. You win the deal. And if this helped you, send it to someone who's thinking about selling. And if you want to break down for your specific home, reach out to me directly. I'll walk you through exactly what this whole entire process looks like. Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
John Lee Real Estate, find you the best rates. All throughout Philly like Schuylkill Expressway. Talking to people who out of